I didn't smile for a year. People think I'm happy because I'm old, because I've lived a long life, because I laugh at dumb jokes and drink my coffee like it's champagne. They think it means I've figured something out. I haven't. I just stopped pretending that sadness was something to fix. I'm Salvatore. S. If you know me well enough, I'm 106 years old. And I need to tell you something before you go back to scrolling, before the algorithm pulls you into the next distraction. I've buried almost everyone I ever loved. My mother at 5, my wife at 31, my second wife last winter, and yet listen carefully, I still wake up and say thank you. Not because my life is easy. It never was. There were quiet years too, nothing dramatic. Just work, dishes, and kids getting taller. I was born in Naples in 1920. We came to Brooklyn when I was 8, just me and my father. $40 and no English. Our first apartment smelled like boiled onions and radiator heat. We slept on the floor, 6 of us in 2 rooms, newspapers on the windows to block the cold. I learned to make shoes with my father before I could spell my name in English. At 10, I was stitching leather until my fingers bled. At 16, I was delivering shoes to men who didn't look me in the eye. At 20, I thought I'd die in a factory accident. At 31, I wished I had. June 14th, 1951, my wife, Anna Maria, went up to the roof to hang laundry. She never came down. Brain aneurysm, sudden, fast, dead before she hit the ground. That's what the coroner said. Dead before impact. I remember those exact words. I was 31, 2 kids in diapers, no clue what to do next. And that's where the lie started. People kept telling me, it'll get better, or you'll find happiness again, as if joy was something that arrived in a box. Like if I just survived long enough, it would land on my doorstep. That's the biggest lie. Joy is something that happens to you. If it's not. It's not something you wait for. It's not tied to luck or timing or who's still alive. It's a decision. A quiet, stubborn, lonely decision you make in the dark when nobody's watching. After Anna Maria died, I didn't know how to live. I was angry at God, at the sky, at anyone with a mother or a wife for a normal day. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I yelled at my sister for bringing soup. I yelled at customers for being alive. And then one night, my daughter, 5 years old, walked into the room and said, "Papa, why are you so mad? Did I do something wrong?" That's when I realized the lie. I was waiting for something to fix me, for life to hand me a reason to smile, for grief to end on its own. But it never does. No one came to lift me out. You have to choose. I started showing up for my kids, not because I wasn't sad. I was still shattered. But I chose to laugh with them so they'd remember something other than silence. I carried that choice with me for decades, through blackouts and layoffs, through loneliness and birthdays and empty chairs. I stopped waiting for life to choose me. Instead, I got up every morning and chose it. That's what people don't understand. They think happiness is passive, like weather. Like if they wait long enough, the storm will pass and the sun will come out. But joy doesn't come with the sun. It comes with the decision to open the window, even when it's raining, even when nobody sees you do it. I'm not telling you this because I think you'll listen. I'm telling you this because maybe you're 30 or 2, Farah. or silvocaltrades, and you think you'll feel better when your problems are over, but you won't. You'll only feel better when you stop waiting for life to feel better. And maybe you're sitting alone right now, in a dark apartment, eating dinner in silence, wondering why nobody's called, why the day felt so heavy, why everything's a little too quiet. I've lived through every kind of quiet there is, and the worst kind, the one that rots your bones, is the kind where you wait for something outside of you to fix the inside of you. Don't wait. Joy isn't something that happens to you, it's something you practice. And if you don't, life will keep moving anyway, with or without you. So I chose the burnt toast and sticky fingers. I chose the bad jokes at the dinner table. I chose bedtime stories even when I wanted to lie down and cry. I chose to laugh for them even when it felt like betrayal. For years, that was enough. Just showing up, just opening the window, even when it rained. But then, life tested me again. I was 58 when it happened. I had a shop on 82nd Street, little thing, nothing fancy. Just shoes and souls and stories. I'd taken over from my father after he passed. Same morning, same smell of glue and leather when you walked in. One night I got a call from the deli across the street. Fire. I thought it was a joke. I thought they meant the building next door. But when I got there, I saw the smoke rising from the windows. Orange light flashing inside the place I built with my hands. My father's hammer still hung on the wall. His last pair of boots sat on a shelf in the back. I stood on the sidewalk, couldn't even move. There was this old woman next to me with curlers in her hair. She whispered, "It's all gone." And I just nodded like it was someone else's life we were watching burn. The smell, burnt rubber and soaked wood and something chemical I couldn't name filled my nose. I still smell it sometimes when I wake up in the dark. The firefighters broke the door. It split in half like cardboard. My door. My father carved the handle himself, and I just stood there. A neighbor tried to put a hand on my shoulder. I shrugged it off. Nobody said a word for a while. Just sirens and wet boots and the hiss of water hitting flame. And then silence. Not peace. Not quiet. The kind of silence where time stops, where your chest forgets how to breathe. I watched 60 years of work turn black in front of me. Tools handed down, customers who became friends, little notches on the wall for every year we stayed open. All of it, ash. When the fire was out, someone handed me a box. Said, this was the only thing we found intact. Is so full. Inside was a photo. Me and my father on opening day. He's holding a pair of wingtips. I'm holding a broom. We both looked so proud. I didn't say thank you. I didn't say anything. I walked home with the box in my hands and didn't speak for the rest of the night. Just sat in the dark, holding that photo, listening to nothing. And that's when the second part of the lie crept in. Not just that joy happens to you, but that once you choose it, it stays. It doesn't. You have to choose it again, and again, and again. Every time something burns, something leaves, something dies, you start over. Not because you want to, not because you're strong, but because the alternative is to stay in that silence forever. And I knew what that would do to my kids. I knew what it did to me after Anna Maria. I couldn't let that kind of silence live in the house again. So the next morning, I made pancakes, burnt them. My son said, "Papa, They're blacker than your shoes. And I laughed. Real laugh. First one in weeks. Not because things were better, but because I chose to laugh anyway. That's all it is. The fire takes what it wants. You either sit in the smoke or you open a window. And sometimes, when you open the window, not everyone wants to stay in the room. I was 70 when I met Gloria. It wasn't supposed to be anything. I went to a church potluck because someone said the lasagna was worth the walk. I was alone. Had been for almost 40 years. Didn't expect anything to change. But I saw her laughing, full laugh, head back, not polite, and it stopped me. Just like that. She was 62. Black. Former nurse. Widow. We talked about Sinatra and tomatoes and bad knees. She had a scar on her left hand from a dog bite, and I couldn't stop looking at it while she talked. I hadn't noticed hands in decades. We started seeing each other, walking the neighborhood, sitting on benches, laughing again. I didn't tell my son at first. Enzo. He was in his 40s by then. 2 kids, a business, a temper. When I told him about Gloria, he didn't say anything at first. Just looked at me like I'd confessed to something awful. I said, "She makes me laugh, Enzo." And he said, "You're replacing Ma." And with her, I still remember the sound his fork made when he dropped it. Sharp, final. The object I remember most from that day was a paper napkin. He crumpled it without realizing, just kept twisting it in his hand while he talked. She's not your kind. People are talking. The neighborhood sees it. And I said, then let the neighborhood go to hell. And he stood up. You think Ma would be okay with this? I didn't answer. Not because I didn't have one, but because I knew the silence would say more. He didn't speak to me for 2 years. He didn't return my calls. He didn't bring the kids around. Christmas came and went. So did my birthday. I mailed him cards. No response. That silence, it wasn't the kind from the fire. It wasn't grief. It was shame. Not because I was wrong, but because I knew I wasn't, and I still let his silence make me small. I started questioning everything. Was I too selfish? Too old to change? Too desperate to feel alive again? And then one morning, Gloria handed me a little box. Inside was a fountain pen. Navy blue. Heavy. She said, write to him. Even if he doesn't write back. Say what you need to say. If you're looking, so I did. Every week. Every Sunday morning after coffee, I wrote him 1 page. Always in blue ink. I told him stories about his mother. I told him Gloria's laugh sounded like old jazz. I told him I still wore the boots he gave me for my birthday in '84. He never wrote back. Not once. But 2 years later, he rang my doorbell with his kids and said, "We're coming for dinner. If that's okay." If you're looking, we didn't talk about the letters. We didn't talk about those 2 years. We just sat down and ate. The silence didn't leave the room entirely, but it loosened its grip. That was when I realized something. Joy isn't loud. It doesn't come with applause or certainty. Sometimes it comes with a paper napkin and a pen. Sometimes it walks into your life and leaves for a while. But it's yours only if you keep choosing it, especially when it costs you. And now I need to talk to you. The one watching this after midnight, curled on the couch, alone, scrolling because you can't sleep. You think something will fix itself if you wait long enough. You think time will heal you while you stand still. Time didn't heal me. It only hardened what I refused to touch. So if you're waiting for the right moment to forgive, to reach out, to feel something again, listen to someone who's buried 2 wives and 100 regrets. The right moment never shows up. So pick one window today, send one text, wash one plate, write 5 lines. Anything that says, I'm still here. You have to open the door anyway, even if no one's on the other side. Even if it's just you holding a letter nobody will answer. You have to choose joy before life forgets your name. Because here's the truth. Most people wait for life to choose them. I didn't. That's why I'm still here. If you needed this, follow. I'll tell you the 3 windows I opened when I had nothing left.